I've never been in a fight. I mean, I've argued with people, but I've never actually had a fist fight with someone, which I think is kind of weird. I've managed to go 34 years of my life without being in a physical altercation. I mean, I've gotten mad and hit somebody, and I've been sucker punched a few times, but I've never had an honest-to-goodness fight that wasn't rooted in a karate tournament or karate sparring where there were rules and gloves and things like that. No one's ever been mad enough at me to come up to me and try to fight me, and I've never tried to fight back. And I find that kind of strange because of the world that we live in. You see, growing up, I was always a bigger kid. I always looked like I could fight, but to be honest, I was interested in more scholarly things, and I was not what you would call an athletic child. I was more interested in reading and having fun doing things like that. Growing up big, you realize that, well, you gotta be tough. Most people will take that toughness and become a brawler, but again, I didn't think I could do that, so I sharpened my mind and ran mental circles around people, confused them, or better yet, made them laugh so that whenever someone was mad at me, they wouldn't want to hurt me, but I could diffuse the situation and we could share a laugh and become friends afterwards. I think about that a little bit now as I get older, and I look at the way the world is. When we look at the world, we can see that people are just angry. People are mad very often. I mean, when you think about it, and you think about superheroes like the Incredible Hulk, his superpower is what? Being angry. He gets mad, he turns into this giant rage monster and smashes things. That's not exactly thrilling if you think about it, but that's how we live our lives. When we get mad, when we get angry, when we see people wrong us and do these things, what do we want? We want what we call justice. We want to make people know that we're the best, that we're stronger, that we're better. Every one of us wants to be the best. Every one of us wants to win, to have the most, and to have all of these things. That's what human nature is. That's the nature of sin living inside of us, to exalt ourselves. That was the sin that Adam and Eve were tempted with in the garden. Oh, you won't die, says the serpent. Instead, you'll become like God. And what they did was they figured, well, I'm smart enough to do that. I should be like God. That's what the sin of pride really is all about, being better than anyone else. But how does one become the best? We have this drive and we teach our children and we watch these shows like America's Got Talent and American Idol and all these things where people want to be the best at doing something, to be great. But what does it mean to be the best? No one thinks about being the best in terms of helping someone with a flat tire. No one thinks about being best as just being kind, to not being a jerk. Nobody thinks about being best as diffusing situations, but we love to prove that we're right. We love to prove that we know more, that people are righter that we are righter than other people. And we use things. The biggest thing that we're using right now to divide ourselves, to make ourselves feel better, is politics. I had figured we're not even really with an election right now, that all of this stuff would calm down, but it hasn't. We've divided ourselves into two groups. And one side's right and one side's wrong. And if you ask the side who's wrong, then you say, no, we're right and they're the ones that are wrong. And you know what's happening in that situation? No one is sitting down talking. No one is coming together and trying to figure out what to do. You see, when we read the Gospel of Luke, when we read this chapter as Jesus is continuing this sermon, he has very stark words, hard words for us. These should be, well, you know what, actually, no. These shouldn't be the hardest words in the Bible that we have to hear, but they are the hardest words in the Bible to hear. 3 words. Love your enemies. Do good to those who hate you. Bless those who curse you. Pray for those who abuse you. You know how hard that is? Really think about it. Do you know how hard it is? If you've been wronged, you've been hurt, or you've witnessed some injustice. You've seen the damage that abuse can do to people. You've seen the damage that abuse can do to children, and your heart is so filled with hatred and malice and anger that you know you can't love them. And you know what Jesus says? Love them. People that kill other people because of their race, because of their gender, because of their sexual orientation. People that do these things, that commit these atrocities, that go into places and shoot up buildings. Jesus tells us to love them. To the people who insult us, to the people who laugh at us, to the people who doubt us, to the people who drag us down and make us feel less than human, make us feel like we are nothing. What does Jesus say to do with these people? Surely justice should come. Surely righteousness should come. This is the same God who sent she-bears to eat children when Elijah got made fun of for being bald. Where's my she-bears, God? I got people making fun of me. Bring them out of the woods. Let them eat people. But Jesus says the other thing. Love them. Pray for them. If anyone strikes you on one cheek, offer the other. Anyone steals your coat, give them your shirt. Don't withhold things from them. Don't take something from someone. If someone begs you, you give it to them, and you don't ask for them back. You know how many books I've loaned out and have lost? There's one book in particular I know that I've had. It's a very good book. I really wish I could read it again because I intensely love this book, and I know who has it, and I know it's gone. And I should go to this person and say, "Excuse me, you have this book. I want it back, or I want a new copy of it." But we don't do that. They ask, "Hey, can I borrow this?" "Yeah, sure, go ahead." It's gone. Expecting nothing in return. And that's not how our minds work, because we want things back. We want things. We want to be the best. And if someone wrongs you, our natural reaction is to want. Get revenge. And it's not justice that we're after by any stretch of the imagination. There are two different ways to look at things. It's either revenge or it's either justice. And we want to think that we're calling out for justice. We want to think that belittling other people, we're calling out for justice, making sure they know that they're wrong. That when someone wrongs us, we want to do unto them as they have done unto us. We want that to happen. But that's not what justice is. That's what revenge is. Because there's a difference between revenge and justice. Justice is right for the right reason, for the right motives. Revenge is just, I'm mad, and I want what's mine. And there's so much negativity in the world. It breaks my heart. You hear stories of kids being bullied. You hear stories of veterans coming home after serving in the military and being treated like crap, not having a good hospital, a good VA to go to, not having all of these things that could help them. We hear these stories all the time. What happened after Vietnam, the reception that people got when they came back, and a lot of those people, they were just drafted. And what did we do to them? We spit in their faces. We told them they were wrong, and sure, morally, that makes you feel real good, doesn't it? Sure, morally, it's easy to say that. But you weren't there. And these people are people. What was it Dr. Seuss taught us? A person's a person, no matter how small. But we don't live by that, do we? We like Old Testament version justice, an eye for an eye. And get yours. And here Jesus comes along and completely flips the script. If someone hits you, give them the other cheek too. You ever been punched in the face? It's not fun. I got punched one time I can remember in a pool, and I'm like 90% sure it was just an accident. I think the kid mistook me for someone else. I just turned around and right in the jaw. It wasn't pleasant. I mean, I was used to getting hit because, again, I did karate as a child. But when you do karate as a child, you have the big, awkward gloves that are like as big as your head, and you can't really hurt anybody with those. They give you these special boots that if you get kicked in the head, it hits your padded helmet because we have to protect everything. But it's not fun. I don't think if someone hits me, I would say, "Thank you, sir, may I have another?" I don't think I would do that. That's what Jesus calls us to do. If someone is that mad at you that they're hitting you, let them hit you again. Don't fight back. I realize now why I didn't fight back as a child. It really wasn't that much of me not being able to, because I'm sure I could have bulked up. I'm sure I could have been a force to be reckoned with. I mean, I played football for 2 years in middle school, worst 2 years of my life. I mean, it was kind of fun, but the problem was I don't have that killer instinct. And I realize now as I'm older that the reason I don't have that is because that's not what I'm supposed to put into the world. I'm grateful for offensive linemen. I'm grateful for defensive linemen. I'm grateful for the people who are strong enough to do the things that I can't do. But I can guarantee you if I had power, I'd misuse it wrong. Because that's what people do. 9 times out of 10, we mess up. And what's the old saying? Absolute power corrupts absolutely. And honestly, isn't there just enough negativity in the world? There's enough hurt. There's enough heartbreak. There's enough of it. I'm so sick of it, guys. It breaks my heart to look at the world we're leaving our children behind. Where kids desperately go to a senator and say, "Can we please talk about climate change?" And they get rebuffed, they get rebuked and say, "Well, I'm smarter than you because I'm older." Breaks my heart. So what do? Well, we be the best. Being the best isn't flashy. Being the best isn't about having the best car or the most power or the most being right. I mean, I love being right, don't get me wrong. I think that's the Calvinist in me. I love being right. And honestly, nothing gives me greater joy than when I'm right and my wife is wrong. And you know what I do with that? Ooh, I struggle. I struggle because I want to say, I was right and you were wrong. Fellas, take it from me, if you're ever in that situation, bite your tongue until it falls off. Because what's the key to a marriage? Happy wife, happy life. But I want to be right. So I just sit there with a smug sense of superiority, knowing that I was right. It's probably not the best thing for me to do, but it doesn't cause an argument. It doesn't cause a fight. Now, conversely, the worst thing in the world is when I'm wrong. I hate that. You need to turn this way. Well, the GPS says this way. GPS is wrong. I'm following the GPS. 5 minutes later, when I have to turn around in a back alley, I hear that noise. Fellas, you know what the noise is? That women do. I don't know how they do it. It's the sign of defeat, guys. That you were wrong and they were right. And you know what I do? I have to push down my anger and rage. Because I don't like being wrong. I like being right. And I have a decision to make in that moment. Do I deal with my feelings? Or do I act out? And that's the decision we have every day of our lives. Do we do that which we're supposed to do, or do we do that which we shouldn't do? How important is it for us to be the best? And in that moment, what I realize is, for me, the best thing I can do is to suck up my pride. The way that I can be the best in this situation is to suck up my pride and say the words I dread to hear, or the words that I dread to say, rather. You were right and I was wrong. Sends a shiver down my spine. It happens more often than I would care to admit that it happens when I have to do that, especially when it comes to driving. But I could fight. I could lay out my claims. I could say, this is the logic of the situation. The GPS says this, you were saying that. What was I supposed to do? I should follow the robot because obviously the robot knows what it's going to do. Well, if you would have listened to me, we would have been there on time. We would have done this. We would have done that. And what has happened? Now there's a fight. Now there's negative energy flowing through the car. And that's not good for anyone. Love people. Treat people as you want to be treated. That's what he says. Be nice. He's not necessarily saying you have to be a doormat. There's justice. Justice, again, is different than revenge. But trust in God. If someone is so upset that something is so important to them that they cut you off while they're driving, which I hate. I hate being cut off while I'm driving. But what is so important to them that they do that? What if they just got bad news and they have to get home as quick as possible? What if they have to go to the store to get some emergency supply for a baby or something? What's the point of being mad? What's the point of flipping them off or something? All you're going to do is feel bad about yourself, and you're going to make them feel bad, and now you're going to have this confrontation. We're better than that. At least we should be. Maybe we're not better than that. But you know who is better than that? Jesus Christ. It's hard for us to do what we're supposed to do. We can't do it, in fact. There's absolutely no way we can do it. So we trust in God. We trust in the God who enters into us, who changes us and makes us more Christ-like day by day. So we can do these crazy things like loving our enemies, taking care of those who hate us, who despise us. That's what we do as followers of Jesus Christ. Thanks be to the God who does this, who loves us and guides us and gives us the power to truly be his children. Amen.